And behold, the interview with the man behind OldTV himself. Check it out. What is your name? Just say your name for the record.
Sure thing. Samra Gandor.
How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm sweating.
Same. My fan's off, so like you can't hear it running on my microphone, and I'm sweating too. What have you been up to?
So today I just I came in early in the morning to work on a few mechanics for the. Well, we'll talk about it in a bit, but it's for the for an unannounced project. It's coming soon. I think I've dropped a deadline for it. Announced that online.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah. So. We'll see. If you have any specific questions, then we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Otherwise, I don't want to over speech stuff that's not announced yet.
Yeah. For OldTV, what was the inspiration behind it?
Sure. So initially it was in 2015. There was a friend of mine. So I was kind of growing Creativity at the time, and I was trying to get to the office, and I had my two other friends that were also co-workers that were in the office already, and I was on the way. Late as usual back then, and I asked them, guys, like, in the meantime, just try to conceive of a small, like, I asked Borna if you guys remember him. We've mentioned the guy that says, "I'm playing the game." That guy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's Borna. So he's a great programmer. He's been around since the beginning. He's an old friend. I asked them, dude, come up with a game that's like our Flappy Bird, like Creativity's Flappy Bird. He's like, all right, cool. He, once I reached the office, so this is in the span of just half an hour, right? He goes like, all right, dude, I got an idea. You say something, but you mean something else. Then I'm like, so then that reminded me of something I've seen on Facebook back then that was called, I forgot what it was called. Sorry, and I forgot what the post was called, but basically it was like red or blue, but that's in different colors and things like that. So it's because of that like crappy Facebook post, I started looking that up and I discovered the Stroop test. I'm like, that's a really simple idea. Let's totally make a game out of it. And then OldTV came to be.
Was the post, was it like that dress post where it was like the gold and white dress?
No, dude, it was a post about like red, but it was in green, and like blue, but in purple. So some random Facebook post in 2015. So when you said make a game that's based off of like you say something but you mean something else, that immediately reminded me of that Facebook post. So if it wasn't for that Facebook post, OldTV wouldn't be. Basically, we had a lot of ideas, dude. That wasn't like the only game in our timeline. There were a lot of ideas, but we rolled with that one.
Yeah. I have like questions on all your games, so don't worry.
That's cool, man.
For OldTV, did you create all the songs for the soundtrack? Because soundtrack
Absolutely
is amazing.
Thanks, man. Now there are a few fans that know this already, but it's literally just like I was using my taste in music to like determine how the product sounds. So I mean, that's how it was based. So I just reached out to these artists. If it was Japan, I kicked a cloud once, Amari Jazz, and the guy that was actually not known, but the guy that made the Americas song, the one that goes like talking, sleeping, waking, that one. So Jas, Ghas, I remember. He was a Swedish guy, so I was like, right, he's our neighbor here. I'm in Denmark. Yeah, I just put it along, and it was fine actually. I'm working on the soundtrack and I've released the new tracks for this unannounced project, and I gotta tell you, it slaps. It's so much better than OldTV in my opinion. And I showed it to like really few like long-term fans and also testers and basically friends at this point. And they were really excited about it. Like they were laughing. That's how good it is. Nice. So yeah, I think it's an upgrade.
Do you know what happened to the mobile versions of OldTV? I can't seem to like find them on Android and iOS.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we just found out recently it was pulled. So the guy I worked with was Polish, and he was a game developer slash publisher as well. He's gone quiet now. I don't know what's going on, but basically he pulled it away from the Android store for some reason, probably because it was bad for his portfolio, because his other two games were selling like in hundreds of thousands and up to a few million. So I guess it wasn't good for his portfolio for the Android store. He kept it on the iOS store. I don't know why he did that, but we just found out about that recently. We were worried maybe something a bit unusual might have happened, but no, it's not making that much money either. Look, I don't really like OldTV's port on mobile because we were supposed to find a way to make money was the idea. Like we released it on Steam for free. That was a horrible idea. I should have priced it on like 1 or 2 or something. So like my parents would go like, River, when are you going to be making money? And I'm like, just give me another year. And it's been 8 years later. I started growing a beard and shit. started getting older.
I was wondering, because I was writing the script for my video, and I was like, I know it's on iOS and Android because I've had it before, and I tried looking for it, and I was like, I just couldn't find it, so it's pretty wacky.
Yeah, man. So he pulled it, we're assuming because it was, portfolio thing. Honestly, the OldTV port for mobile is really not good. Because we had to put in ads, and like, that's cancer. I'm never doing that again. Like I wrote a full article. Yeah, we'll link it in the description below. I wrote a full article just antagonizing advertisements and how to make good products. Like how to profit ethically, I guess was the name of the article. I wrote it for the workplace here. But yeah.
And don't worry, I bought Cold TV, so I'm supporting you.
That's cool, man. So what was that? What's OldTV? Cold TV was like what?
It was the DLC to OldTV.
Yeah. It was $3 or $4. What was it?
I think it was 2 or 3. I think.
Right. So 30% of that goes to Steam.
Damn.
And the rest of it is just settles on Steam until it hits $100. So if I'm lucky, like every month that passes, if I'm lucky, if it crosses $100, then it gets transferred, and I get to eat food with $100, or buy toilet paper, like whatever, man.
I was actually going to get into that next question of why OldTV was free. It was, why is OldTV free to play? And like, yeah, is there any reason why it is?
Yeah, so the first game was free, and only if you remember that one. And the second one was too, because so the first, God, I was so poor when it comes to understanding business. And just to say, like in the beginning, I was just like really dog shit at school. So I don't understand nothing, math, business, physics, no sciences, nothing. All I knew was I liked making pretty things on screen. So I literally just like left school, and I was like, all right, let me do exactly what I know, what I like doing, what I know what to do, which was kind of video games. Only if it wasn't really well reviewed. It wasn't designed with the customer in mind. It was designed like, oh, this is my shit. Honestly, like Only If was the only game where I felt like I was making the greatest game on the planet, and it turned out to be like the most dog shit one I've made in my whole life. And that's me looking like in retrospect. Yeah, so just I didn't understand business. I didn't understand how to be critical. I didn't have a critical mind at the time. I was a stereotypical creative. So as I aged, I learned how to be a bit more rational. And I went through a phase of like antagonizing the whole being called like a creative person, whatever, like an edgy teenager or something. No, I'm not a creative. I'm fucking rational. Ben Shapiro, destroy that kind of shit. No, man, and then and then I've come to accept it. I'm like, no, like there's great value for creativity. It exists everywhere, not just in the creative industry, whatever the hell that means. So like I've left the creative industry over time. Sorry, I'm digressing. So you said, why was it free? Because I didn't think it was worth it. I thought if I put a great game that sold for like, it was 1.2 million units actually. It was Steam's 50th most popular video game at the time, 2014 on PC. So I think Metal Gear Rising at that time was 61st or something. I forgot. So in terms of popularity on Steam, that was cool. But yeah, I just thought if I set donations, like the money would come reeling in, but that's just very poor business understanding. So for the sequel, we're like, oh, let's put a DLC instead, like soundtrack to download or some, a cold TV afterwards. But the mistake was to release it 3 months after the traffic, like fucking idiots. So we just made $10,000 out of the entire game. So I've just been living off of investor money, like mommy and daddy money. What else?
That YouTuber money?
No, I fucking hate ads, dude. No way. So I wrote a whole article about it, dude.
I haven't seen it, by the way, so I don't know.
It's very boring. But yeah, it's just me talking to like developers, designers, and maybe a few business people telling them, don't do this. Citation. Ads are fundamentally undemocratic, because the idea is that you're trying to give people an idea of product or service somewhere it doesn't belong. Like if you look back 100 or so years ago, you see like this cute photo of some chick in her 30s or 20s, Victorian-esque kind of dress, and she's posed like, it looks like a painting, but she's posing with like Coca-Cola, and it looks like the most absurd thing. And like that's like one of the earliest sort of modern day advertisement sort of strategies, and it's like the beginning of cancer to me, dude. So it's a necessary evil, but in my opinion, I want us to shift away from like an attention economy to an intention economy, where it's more like Steam. Like if I want new games, dude, it's on the front page. I can scroll down. That's how you find out about me. We're building Door the exact same way as well, where it's, like before I talk about Door, sorry, YouTube is another example of an intention economy, where, dude, YouTube's recommendation feature is like one of the coolest, like AI software algorithms that ever exist, in my personal opinion. It's magic. Like I remember, like I was a teenager at the time when it was like whatever, and I remember the transitional period up to like a year or 2 years when I was like, I'm not sure if this is good or bad. And like by 2013, 2014, I'm like, it's so good. And now we take it as granted. Like YouTube's recommendation can really suck you in. And that's just the beauty of the intention economy. It has nothing to do with them putting things and forcing you to watch things. They also kind of do that, which is shit. But yeah, so that's the difference between attention and intention economy. Door is focusing more on the intention economy, where if you like to run, as an example, you'll find people who will also want to run with you, or you might be into gymnastics, or maybe a video game that's about sports. So that's the intention route that I want to go down. So we're not completely antagonizing the attention economy. Marketing is fantastic. It's specifically advertising that's the cancer. Advertising means putting something where it doesn't belong, and trying to make it interesting. I mean, that's fine if you expect it, but if you don't, it's just unethical to me. Doesn't make sense.
I feel that. It's like plugging holes in people's or plugging ideas in people's heads, They're not supposed to be there, but these companies are like pulling the strings and all. Very interesting. I should look more into this.
Yeah.
OldTV's first ending. I want to talk about this because it's very weird. Before the DLC came out, there's an ending where, spoilers ahead, where when you beat, I believe it was Africa, there's this girl. She's like asking where her father is, and she wants someone to get out of the wardrobe. Could you elaborate more on that?
I like that expression, when you beat Africa. Yeah, so that was more of like that voice line was more of like, it was actually ripped away straight from Ant. So it's just supposed to be really like, it was an attempt at, it was cheap. It was an attempt at like trying to add some depth to a game that was lacking of. And it was more of a hint towards the next thing, which was supposed to be And actually, but you guys know how that went. And if you look at Only If, there is also another And teaser. It's one of the achievements. It's called One Day. It's where you climb. It's like there's the study room. It's like if you climb on top of a desk, then like on top of like this drawer wardrobe thing, And then you look up, you'll clip above the room, which you'll discover that there's nothing around the room. And you'll see this enormous anime painting, which is a commission. I think I paid like $49 for, or $69 or something, of like ants. It was like Valerie and like, I don't know, like the painting and the Victorian aesthetic and all that. And the gems, which were a big part of that game. I don't know, I might come back to it. Like there's like loads of people really like the atmosphere of And, although like like creatively for me, I can do better. But I guess because it's just so deep in its atmosphere, I might consider coming back to it. But to be honest, like let's just say no for now, because we can make more exciting things.
Gotcha. And I actually want to do another. My next question is about Cold TV's ending too. You leave for school. Is that an and or only if teaser too as well, or?
Oh no, so that was sort of just a wrap up of the game. So that's the funny thing. Like it sounds like it was deep or something, but we flipped it on its head again. It just does. It literally means what it says. Like you're just at home the whole time, and then you just leave for school.
Gotcha. I thought it was like some sort of allegory for the creator, something like you like stop at game development or something, and then you just go on to something else.
Yeah. So one of the beautiful things about human beings, and the reason why we dominated as animals relative to any other animal, why didn't bird dominate, why didn't other primates dominate, or whatever, is because of our ability to recognize patterns. Even we're so good at it, we can see patterns even where they don't exist. This was a perfect example. Small example, but was another example where like I was like, what if we just say like you close the TV and just leave? Like will people just take it at face value? And you're like, no, but what's the meaning? Like, dude, he closed the TV, like the game's done, and he went off. And I actually love doing that. Like I love making games that really play with your curiosity. And it doesn't tell you. Like that's what I love to do. Because this reminds me so much of when I was a kid in my parents' home, and my mom loved the Victorian aesthetic. So I guess this is where all that comes from with and whatever. And like my dad had like these 90s and like 80s, like Windows 98, let's say, or like even 80s equipment in like the library, which was really small back then. I remember when my parents used to go to work, and if I didn't have a school day, or if it was summer, I think when I was 11 or 12, like I would come up with these stories, like as if the mirror was looking at me when I'm not looking, as if I was looking at myself or something, and that maybe the plants around me can actually talk to me. Or what if there are secrets in the living room, in this Victorian living room that my mom made, that that I could discover. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I find keys that I never know where they go through. So I think that's the inspiration behind. And I think if I really think about it, that's where it comes from.
So the next question is actually about the sequel to OldTV, Plasma TV. What happened with it, and why did it get canceled? Because I've seen some videos on your channel saying like it's coming, and then I looked on Game Jolt and it said it was canceled. So what happened with that?
So folks were calling me like the cancel god. Like I just keep canceling products one after the other. And to be honest, the only reason that was happening was purely because I wanted to get to door. Right? So I'm like, all right, I can make games, but I want to make something that means to humanity, whatever. So it's like I would just like, I was like, all right, let's make some money, but then cancel, make some money, cancel, make some money, cancel. And guess what? We released Door. It's being released 22nd of June in Denmark. We are running out of funds. So, and we can't find any investors, and I don't want to get investors in a position where we're in lesser power and they're hiring. The worst time to get an investor is when you need an investor. The best time is when you don't need one, because that way you can you can get larger funds for giving out lesser shares. If you're coming in as desperate, they're going to demand more, assuming they're interested. They're going to demand more shares and for lesser funds, and you're going to shoot yourself in the foot that way. So I looked at Nav and I was like, dude, let's just make a game, just to fund ourselves. And I announced it before anything was made. So it was just game design, no actual coding was made, that screenshot you saw. And from the date that screenshot was posted, I believe it was 6th of July. But so ever since I posted the deadline up until now was the only official cycle of this game. So it's like, I think we're likely going to be in early access, but the game's going to look really polished already because it's basically, it's using a bit of what makes Plasma look cool and a bit of what like the new effects and the new game ideas that we conceived. Yeah, so the reason why Plasma was canceled was, you know, just because I needed to move on, etc. And I kept, and not just that, but Plasma wasn't fun. Like people like, oh, like it sucks that Plasma is happening. Guys, I played it. It's not fun. Like it's really not what you think it is. It's going to be another Only If. So I've salvaged these parts and I've made, I think we can talk about it, to be honest, since it's releasing so soon. The sequel is called Backup Space. And it takes place in 2024. A solar flare is going to wipe out all satellites, and the internet is going to come crashing down. So NASA and SpaceX plan to fly a few Falcon 9s and just to back up as much data as they can from the satellites, whatever that's already existing. Sorry. And so a soul nerd flies a drone into the stratosphere to back up as much data as he can before SpaceX and NASA can launch anything. You're probably going to get arrested, but you put your back into it. You storm the stratosphere, and music starts, and it's the whole OldTV thing. But it's spicy. It's so much better than OldTV. It feels like. So the sequel isn't a full-blown original take. There is another idea called The Bold Man. We'll talk about that way in the future. But it's like, you know, Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Like it's a proper remake of like a reimagining sort of OldTV, paced much better, and there are way more levels, and where there are like upgrades and like there are collectibles, and there's like a passive version of the game. I'm doing all that right now. And also I'm fighting to have a live multiplayer. So something inspired by how Overwatch works systematically. I mean, I'm not in gameplay. It's like, see that red? Shoot it. No. Yeah, so it's just fast-paced, ranking, competitive, just fighting against people and just climbing the ranks. I think the lowest rank is like tester. What was it again? Hang on. It's actually pretty cool. So, yeah, the lowest rank is like spectator, then you have tester, developer, architect, and then CTO. So that's the range for like how much data you downloaded, aka your ranking. And then there's the leaderboards for reaction time, which is like very superior, average, slow, and slower extreme. I can already see the slower extreme gathering up, and, you know, just celebrating their community. But yeah, that's the thing with Backup Space. It's we're really hyped up about it, and I'm really glad to see the reaction folks got when we sort of came back from the dead, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's even like kind of why I'm making this video, kind of why I'm interviewing you, because like I've been a pretty big fan of OldTV. I got it when it launched, and I've been playing it off and on, but I was recently playing it, I'm like, holy crap, there's an update coming, like, and I'm doing pretty good on YouTube, so I'm like, why not make a video on it?
Sounds cool, man.
All right, so I actually want to divert a little bit from OldTV and talk about yourself, if you don't mind. So I was looking at your YouTube channel. There's a lot of cool stuff on there, like vlogs, other game projects, and I even saw the social media Door. I haven't seen any updates on Door, and I really like the concept. Is there any update on Door? And if you want to explain to the audience what Door is.
Sure. So the elevator pitch right now is that it's an auto meet app. Where you press one button to meet people within like 1 hour or in the same day. So let's say if it's jogging, cooking, partying, game cafe, barbecues, And in the future, like if we get enough revenue for us to like rent out like venues and sort of design like a board game place or like a gamer cafe or like I always wanted to make personally, like I really always wanted to make like the cinema of video games. And what I mean by that is that it's a single player game that you can only play by going to a venue. So what that means is really using VR to its limits. So like using the space around you to engineer the entire venue so that you can feel haptic feedback like everywhere. You can smell things, you can hear things, you can feel things. And like as an example, just to give you what that's like, tell you what that's like let's say you're playing some game where it's like a first person forest open world kind of, let's say it has a great story or something. And let's say you level up your jump and you're like at like this forest, like imagine sort of Breath of the Wild, and then like you just want to just jump and then slowly glide. Like you can't physically do that, but with strings we can. So if you level up your jump, what we can end up doing is, if you're wearing the VR set, is when you do initialize a jump, we can hold you, suspend you in space, and it will feel like you're falling. And using wind as well, you can really create that sensation. It's fucking insane. So in my opinion, this is like the next, this is when VR would really take off. Like whatever we have right now with VR, it never attracted me. And I was one of the first backers for the Oculus Rift in 2013. I got the dev kit, I thought it was amazing. I had no idea what to do with it. Nothing revolutionary is what I'm saying. I thought, okay, maybe some cool things would be made. And we had, like, for example, Half-Life Alyx was amazing with VR. But to me, it's missing that physical thing. And I believe we can do that with Door by renting out venues and sort of spacing out, sort of like physically engineering the game as well. I think that's super cool. So yeah, I said it was an Automate app, but we're pivoting from being an Automate app, and now we're moving into sort of adventures. So like you have a profile, we don't call it profile, we call it actually shapes. And your shape isn't built to show off to other people like traditional social media. Actually, this is not a social media because there is no media to consume. Your shape is developed for you in the same way that if you're playing a Ghost of Tsushima, you're trying to upgrade your own character. That's the kind of sense of like sort of belonging and passion we want. We want you to care about the character on the screen. Because if it's possible to do that on the screen, then we have to ask ourselves, all right, what are the questions, what are the steps that we can do to make that possible in the real world? I think it's possible to solve this problem. It just needs attention, and that's where I want to divert my attention to as soon as it's viable. Yeah, so adventure is like, so we're shifting from a multiplayer thing. We want to do multiplayer Door, but we're shifting from a multiplayer thing to try and gamify like just our daily lives. So you press on an adventure where let's say it's jogging and like 5 places in Copenhagen you can jog to. You like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, 5, etc. Just using my graphics and like my animations to try to make it, and like gamification to try to make it feel as like juicy as possible. This is a real world game and you get real world benefits from it. Like other stuff like cooking, level 1, level 2, level 3, like make a basic soup, or like a steak or like a salad, pasta, and then having like a cooking party or something like that. So somewhat akin to like what's that, Cooking Wars? What's that anime called again?
Oh, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge watcher of anime.
Yeah, but there was this anime that was about like cooking. But you know how anime can like, they can take like this simple idea and like explode it to like an extreme.
Yeah. Like
have like a whole academy dedicated to writing or like cooking. So there's one called Cooking Wars or something like that, Food Wars. So it's just amazing. So what I learned. So what's funny is actually I used to be like religious, and it's like in 2017 I sort of like lost that faith when I asked myself, all right, well if we do have like if like my religion is true and we go to another planet and we find like intelligent people or aliens, and there's no way that they heard of our religion, and we tell them, and they have their own religion, then how is it possible that I'm right? It doesn't make any sense. So that was sort of the tipping point for me, because I used to like have like religion and science at the same time with me. But over time, even especially ever since I've been following Musk since 2016, like I started reflecting more on my own, not ideologies, but the ideologies that I adopted or was born into. And I became an atheist quite quietly but quickly. But now I'm seeing the benefit of religion from the community, from the existential perspective. So not that, I mean, if you don't want to be religious, or if you want to be religious, that's up to the people. But for me personally, like, it's like we shouldn't become atheists and just abandon our existential belonging. So this is what I'm trying to craft in a way with Door, where we understand that we're animals, right? We understand that in a way, like we're not much different than our primates, and that we're not some like snap of fingers, magic came in and like blood and sand makes it, that makes nonsense. So to understand what we are and sort of create meaning behind that, and to just in the beginning to try to gamify the first part of this. I can talk for a while about this, and we'll divert into a topic. I think it's too early to bring up right now, but after Door, there's something bigger that I'll talk about in a few years, but not right now.
All right. When that comes, we could probably have another interview about it, man.
Yeah, sure. Why
not? Next question. Why haven't you been posting lately on your YouTube channel?
Haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Why have or haven't?
Why haven't you been posting lately?
Well, I never was, actually, if you look at it. Apart from like the music that I posted, like the piano stuff, pacing was always the same. But if you're asking generally speaking, why do I just not post to my YouTube in general? It's because it requires a format, and that requires editing and putting effort into it, and me putting on this happy fucking facade. I don't want to do that shit, dude. So I was like on Instagram, started getting on Instagram and just kind of like just making stories and fleets on Twitter. It's just easier to produce. So there's actually been a lot of media, a lot of content that was generated about like just not just my life, but the products that I was making, about Door, about me moving to Denmark 2.5 years ago. So the entire thing was documented. Actually, if you just go to my Instagram, and I make collections to quantify exactly what it is. And I tried posting this on YouTube, 0 fucks. No one gives a shit. This is the problem. This is the problem, dude. Like people on YouTube expect you, at least my following. I want to get into YouTube Shorts, but it's like you need to, I don't know, guess be American, or I don't know, be like some part of some prestigious beta tester or something. I'm just waiting until that happens, because once I can make Shorts, you suddenly go like, oh, why is River posting everywhere all of a sudden?
Yeah.
I always was, dude. Like it's just YouTube needs baking, and I can't bake a cake for you guys. I can do it every now and then, but it's just, I don't feel it. It just feels fake as shit. I don't like doing it.
I understand that.
So unless it's like a product release or like a big update, that's cool. But like the shit that you saw where it's like about plasma or making something special, something magical, I just don't like doing that anymore, dude.
I understand that, because like sometimes I have to do that because I am trying to be a YouTuber, you know. I have to put on a smile and shit, and it is annoying, but it also does kind of put me in a good mindset in a way when I make a video, or like when I'm editing the video, I like watch it over and like I see them having a good time, and I'm like, well, it's a funny thing. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I totally relate. I know what you're talking about.
All right, so this is about actually game development. In the one video, Tarek, you lazy bastard, you talk about game development, and you say in that video that you want to get out of game development. Has your stance changed, or have you completely given up on game development?
I think you want to address one thing before we move on to game development there. So it says Tarek. I changed my name. So Tarek was my birth name. but I'm not Arab and I'm not Muslim, so that didn't make any sense. And truth be told, this is kind of funny. So the reason why we call the character in Only If Anthony, and like why it was voiced by me as well, is sort of it was sort of me trying to express how I saw the world, like things that are just happening to me, and I take things very directly, very literally. So yeah, so that comes from somewhere. Like when I first met my best friends, Borna, Mark, Raymond. When we made a band for the first time back when I was 17, I lied to them telling them my name was Anthony and that I was from Canada. Canada was a cousin, Anthony was the name of another relative. I just could not accept like not being my own person. I just didn't like it. So it was bubbling, and then over time, like when I turned 26, I was like, dude, fuck it. Like just like I can't I want to become who I am. Like I don't want to hold some culture that I don't even identify with. So I dropped the Tarek name, went with River, and even my conservative friends were like, who usually would bully me for like any liberal idea or something like that, were like I would expected them to bully me again, but then they're in a friendly way, right? But instead he was like, and this was Born actually, he's one of them. He was like, it suits you. And my dad was like, and he was the guy that named me Tarek actually, was actually a bigger fan of River than he was of Tarek. And then my grandma started calling me River, or rather Ravura, was what they call me at home. So yeah, I mean, if you're not feeling satisfied with your name, you have the right to name yourself. And in my opinion, I think the fact that we can create so many usernames is indicative of of there being demand for us to sort of identify in a way that we want. It's so stigmatizing to make that change. And it is difficult a bit in the beginning, but you forget about it very, very quickly. And it just dissolves into who you are. And my mom right now, like she instinctively calls me River and everyone else now. So it's a very brief transitional time, period, but I recommend it if you're feeling discomfort with your name. And sorry about the game development question. You were saying?
In that video, you state that you want to get out of game development. Has your stance changed, or have you completely given up on game development?
So I said that because I was like, dude, games are like drugs, and like they're just saying it is bullshit, and, like meaning and like pretension. There's some truth to that, but it's too extreme. So if you look at the games that I made, like they were not really games. They were gamifications. Like what is Only If, dude? It's like it takes idioms and it takes them literally. Like for example, if you're trash talking, you lose your voice. You got to find your voice in the trash cans. I can't think of other examples, but the entire game is based upon that. And what's funny is that I didn't understand that back then. I just sort of made it, and then like 4 years later, I'm like, so that's what I was trying to do. So that's what I meant by I was like a pure creative back then, and I rationalized things as I went. So yeah, and OldTV is basically the Stroop test, the Stroop effect, which is a psychological test psychiatrists and psychologists do, among kids. I don't know what its real purpose is. I forgot. My sister is a psychologist. I guess he would tell me. But yeah, my sister really loved OldTV when it first came out. I mean, like she was a psychologist, she would love it, and then she would like use it among her peers that were also psychologists. So you can see those weren't really games; they were gamifications. So I never really made like games. Like I always wanted to expand that industry because I didn't like the fact that like interest was in this market, in this one industry, and like it was away from engineering, it was away from like social, it was away from money and things like that. Like I feel like it's possible for us to combine these things, and if there was anything I learned from the entertainment industry is that it's about taking interest and the ability to apply it anywhere. So I've taken that principle and I've tried to apply that with the social app via gamification. So what gamification is actually a way for us to it's a way like if you have your friend who is in high school who is like an A-star student when it comes to math, and you're like, why, like how does he get it, like how does he understand it so quickly? It's because his mind is wired to find that interesting, to find those challenges interesting. So over time what would happen is that it's like dopamine, right? It would kick in. So he'd go like, oh, I like this, I like this. So so you can find parallels between this and why we find sex interesting. Actually, evolutionarily speaking, had we not found sex so appealing, it would work against our species existing. Had any species not found sex appealing, it would work against them just existing. It would lead to what's the word? Extinction. So the idea is just to try and find a way, how can I make these things that we do in our day-to-day lives more interesting? And before we get into tampering with your mind, such as what Neuralink and the rest are doing, one sort of less invasive way to go about this is gamification. And like the whole idea of like work is only something that you do in the office, and it's not when you go back and you fucking Call of Duty with like neurons exploding everywhere. Like it's like the idea of rest is not what we think it is. So yeah, so I've went like all around this question, but just to answer directly. I said that, I take it back. I'm back in games, and I think I'm going to be making games forever. What we're doing now with Door is to make technology and promote it with a game featuring that technology.
I really like that the concept of Door, even how you stated it in the Door announcement video. You're like, social media takes the social aspect out of it, you know, and we're trying to put it back in to that with Door. And I really like that concept because I like, even when you said you just, you know, flick through all these things, these like faked photos of people's lives, they only show you the good parts, you know. And I really liked how you explained that in the Door video. So
look, social media is, and I want to focus on media here, like it's a newspaper service with social features. Like you need to understand this. It's like the feed is given to you where you're seeing either global or local news in the form of, if it's something like local news, or like hyper local such as friends and family. And the only way that you can, it's a news app, dude. And the only way that you can engage with these things is through like comment, so criticism, compliment, internet currency such as like and subscribe, I guess. That's it. Like it's like if you see a cool photo of someone like going to Norway in the fjords, you can't do shit about it. And if you do try to do something about it, assuming it's an app or something like that, or marketing or something, you have to go through hell, you have to pay through hell, and who are you going with? So it's not designed for these things. And Mark Zuckerberg was like, look, I think we're better off with Facebook than without. Genuinely, like if you had to put in these two alternatives, I would say we're better with Facebook, definitely. But to say that this is the best that we can do, like triggered me, has rattled me so much that I told you guys that I'm quitting games and I need to fucking solve this. Because I mean, dude, if you're looking at the games I was making, they're all psychology. Like the entire thing is behavioral sciences. So social apps was just the next step.
And I actually want to touch on another video of yours. In your video Thoughts, you mentioned some books in the description. Why do you recommend these books? And if you want, I have all the books right here that you mentioned. The Future of Life.
Bought them?
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't buy them. I'll just put them in my notes right here. The Future of Life, How to Get There, You, Today, The Land of Plentiful, and Basic Economics.
I'll just remember them because my memory is bad. So the first one was, hang on, how to build the future, and that is. And we'll start with the first one since you have the notes. What's the first one called?
The Future of Life. Actually.
And I think that one's called. I think that one's called Life 3.0.
I'm not sure. You put them in the description.
All right, well, let's load this up then.
Here, I got the video. I can.
Because I remember the name of the book, so I just don't remember what were the captions that I added to it.
There you go. I sent the video link to you.
Already got it.
And then.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so The Future of Life, Life 3.0, it's an amazing book. Like that book is outstanding. Like you should not buy a summary of that book. Like I love that book so much I bought a summary, and it's just like the summary doesn't sound anything like the book. It's like not only is the book narrated by a guy who has this deep, like croaky voice, which really immerses you in the atmosphere. It's just amazing. Like it's just, and let me tell you, like there's something about the description of this video for thoughts. It says, I used to see beautiful things in my head, thoughts that kept me up at night, some manifested into songs, games, and other stuff. But then because of bad sleep, basically, like it ruins your head. Like it develops. So I developed a lot of amyloid beta plaque, which is in other words for saying some form of mental decline. You can develop this in your 20s. The idea is that you develop dementia or mental decline in like your 60s, 70s, or 80s is very flawed. And the idea that, I'll just wait until I get sick, whatever that sickness is, and then I'll be given this magic thing where I eat it and then I'm magically fit. That doesn't make any sense, dude. That's not how the body works. Like it took you time to develop like this damage. To reverse it requires an equal, if not less, around an equal amount of time reversing this. Fuck off of sugar, sleep early, exercise, generally eat more leafy greens, or just vegetables and fruits as opposed to meats. You don't have to antagonize meats completely, but you need to have a larger portion of leafy greens. Like we eat way more sugar and way more protein and like simple carbs such as bread, white rice, white bread, and the like. Gluten turns out to be toxic. So when we say things like, oh, like, are you gluten? Are you sensitive to gluten or something like that? That's not a niche. Gluten is fundamentally toxic to the mind. So it's not the same as what our ancestors ate 10,000 years ago, and nowhere near the same frequency. It's not the same grain. So there's so much damage that I've done to myself. I've fucked myself so much, like the average person actually. But the worst thing that I've done is because I had no boss, because I was like working on my own, and I worked with people that were in Canada or America, which meant that I was working at nighttime here, like AM. Meant that I completely slept against the circadian rhythm, which has completely ruined my heart. I went from palpitations to pain to like on an occasional basis to daily now. And like some of my fans that have been following me for 2 years, like on the discourse that we had, like know this about me. There were periods where I like just went to emergency. And this has all happened because of just really, really bad sleep. So like I've ruined that part of myself because of bad sleep. So I'm not sure how much of it is reversible. Drugs isn't the way to go, actually. Drugs don't solve, they cover. So sleep well, sleep early, eat well, fast, avoid gluten, avoid simple carbs, such as sugar, white rice and bread, white bread. Generally eat more greens than meats if you're still eating meats. There's nothing wrong with eating meats. This is a hard one, but be positive as much as you can. I'm still working on that one. But yeah, so like the first, so it's because of what I fucked myself, how I fucked myself. I just basically could not imagine things anymore, and I needed like stimulation. So I started reading books when I never did. And one of the first books I read was The Future of Life. And here it just in simple talks about the future of life being life 1.0, consisting of like bacteria, reactive life. So life 1.0 is reactive. Things like bacteria, let's say viruses, really simple life. Life 2.0 is habitual. We're creatures of habit. So this is all animals. So whatever it is, so we do things according to how we habitualize towards them. Our bodies don't understand what's good and bad. None of that exists. Like, why do we develop cancer? That's completely organic. Why does that happen? Because we're creatures of habit. There's a genetic predisposition for that. And Life 3.0, which is literally the next step of this, and it sounds like it won't make sense, but it's purely technological. It's technology. So that doesn't mean bolts and metal pieces and you know what have you, the format that we have right now. This means, like, if you heard Darwin's quote, it's not who's the strongest, it's not that who is most intelligent, it's those that are most adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I think I've heard something like that.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but so the idea here is, all right, well, assuming entropy, which is like the second law of thermodynamics, that's not something that you can escape. And just to give you a brief on what entropy is, when it's a state of when something goes from a less complexity to more complexity. Like if you built a sand hill or something, it's just going to deteriorate over time. Like if we leave this building right now, nature is going to reclaim it and it's going to crumble over time, just because it's aging, right? So that's the natural state of the universe. And you can tell, like, anti-entropy is unnatural. Like you're never going to see this thing manifest like from, like, let's say, like water up to a bottle and plastics around it. That's never going to happen. We've never seen this in nature. Well, you can get into the whole science behind that for some quantum physics and whatever, but just stay with classical physics. That doesn't happen. Like we have an innate understanding of entropy, and that's just how things work. And to believe that the body is a closed system entirely, that's not true, dude. You're drinking water every day. You're eating like things every day. You're introducing the external world into you, not just through what you eat, and also how you interact with it. Like bad things can happen to you, but you're the one who decides how you want to feel about this. That's the psychological part I was telling you about. So what Life 3.0 means is that ultimately, to be atomically adaptable, it makes no sense for us to become a spacefaring civilization while we're in this meta monkey state with like just a little bit of hair and skin. That makes no fucking sense. So much cancer that can develop. There are cosmic rays everywhere that can kill you. The shape of our organs were developed with gravity in mind, and a very specific kind of gravity. So when you're in space, we've seen this among different astronauts, like our hearts take a default, they try to get to an oval state. Our organs form that way. Our blood doesn't move. You can lose consciousness. It's messed up. So it's like you could say things like, oh, we can go to Mars, we can go to space and do all these things. But none of that matters if like the system, if the machine isn't optimized for it. So the idea is ultimately to be made out of, I don't know, photons, some fucking angels. Like who knows what the space clouds, like who knows what we're going to become in the future. But to believe that we're always going to be human when we weren't human before is the wrong way to go. For us to say things like, you know, for humanity, that's fucking short term. That's very short-sighted. That's equal to saying go America. Like it makes no sense from an existential perspective. And the step for us to get to that point, the most immediate realistic step to do that is for me first to take care of my health, to understand what am I made out of, and how can I optimize myself so that I can live longer, so that I can stay younger for longer, so that I can think better. And how can I adapt myself to the environments that are around me? Then this starts talking about reverse aging. We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, that's the whole inspiration behind Dora as well. That's what has really pushed me. All this like research has really pushed me towards Dora. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with video games? I'll be brief on the other one. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, how to get there. This is a book. It's one of the greatest business books written, From Zero to One. What it means is going from zero innovation to one, like a vertical innovation. A mediocre and horizontal innovation is like Ubisoft shit, Call of Duty shit. Like that's horizontal innovation. Vertical innovation is like when the iPhone was first introduced, when the first personal computer was introduced, when rockets first came to be, when cars first came to be, when, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's just basically a book that talks about how to innovate, and it talks about all that history, Apple, MIT, just all of that. It's really, really beautiful. So that's sort of the guideline for the future of life. I wouldn't agree about that so much these days, but this is a good book. It's called Your Deceptive Mind. It just talks about our tendency to be biased and how to be aware of what we are. I think one of the flaws of being a developer is that you inevitably start seeing yourself as the machines that you design. Like if you think about it, that like the PCs that we have, like how are they not natural? It's materials that come from this earth. How are they not natural? And you can find all parallels with how these things work and how our minds work or how our bodies are designed. So it's a weird thing, but there are parallels there. Today, The Land of the Plentiful. So this is from a book from a Dutch author who I half agree with, half disagree with, but it's a good book nonetheless, called Utopia for Realists. If you believe that you're building a utopia, what you're basically building is a dystopia. Because perfection is just simply, it's just not possible. What perfection is a goal, and there will always be a goal. And that's good because then we can progress, right? Get more food for your crops, make more money, whatever it is. So it's basically a book about UBI, Universal Basic Income, and why it's so beneficial. But although I think that's good, I think the right way to go about this is not to give a horrible quote here, but it's like don't give a man a fish, like teach a man to go fishing. What was it again?
I think it was like give a man a fish, feed him for a day, and then teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for the rest of his life, something like that.
That's that book. The book talks about giving you fish, dude. Universal Basic Income. So I agree with it, and he says. So a lot of us think poor people are poor because they're stupid. Dude, they're not stupid. Well, there is a portion that really are, but the majority of them are not stupid. Like being poor is not an intelligence problem, it's a money problem. And there were tests from the 60s. America has almost had UBI implemented in the 70s. But something happened, I forgot what it was, because they asked for too much, and then they're like, no, fuck that. And then the Vietnam War happened. So they forgot about it completely. But there were records of people giving like neighborhoods just $1,000 like a month, no questions asked, right? And they would prosper. Like even those that were struggling, like if they were doing cocaine or something, like the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them would jump off of that stuff and try to build their own businesses, try to, reconnect with their families, try to just build a better life in general. So that's a great thing. And I was trying to do UBI for Door. I'm like, dude, this is not sustainable. Like the right way to go about this is to give people the ability to develop power, not to decentralize the small pool that we have right now. That's the whole thing with Door. Basic economics, that's self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
I messed up with the first two products. I needed this book. We're selling the new game at $6.99.
Nice. I'll definitely pick it up and play it. This might be kind of a off-topic question, but why did you lock your first Discord? Because when I was trying to contact you, I saw your Discord invite in the news page of OldTV. I joined, and it was completely locked, and that's when I messaged one of your mods to talk to you. So why'd you lock the first one?
I don't think I had an OldTV server. I had a Plasma server. I had a stuff server that had a bunch of stuff in it.
Yeah, that was a server stuff. That's what the one was linked to the news page on OldTV.
Sure, that actually wasn't the first one. That's my second. The first one was the Plasma server, and I locked that one. Because it's better than deleting actually, because then it's like, all right, we get to see it at its prime and come back to it if you ever want to. And the same was done for the second one. It's because these games were done, dude. Like there's no points keeping that there. And then you could say the same with the second one, where it's like it had multiple different games, and we just paused it there, like at its prime. So on the third one, Door was actually not abandoned, but because we attracted the wrong audience, and I was like, all right, this is really stressing me out because just kids that were ruining my life basically. They've gotten better, thankfully, but so I was like, all right, the only way that I can end this is if I escape. Just give them the server and just fuck off. So Yeah, there was no dude. I kept blocking them. There was no way around this. They would fucking raid me. They would like at between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. One of them like got a raid of people to spam disturbing content among our user base. We weren't even awake at that time. Another one, I don't know, fucking tried leaking my personal documents. Because I was once a while ago, I was saying let's develop trust about some stupid fucking experiment I was doing, where I was saying, look, no one's actually gonna do anything about this. One fucking twat was, and he was threatening to. He's like, I don't know, give him access to some server or unblock him or something, or he's gonna release my fucking credit card and ID on the black market or something. And some other nonsense about like pedophilia or some shit like that. Like kids can do that. Like if you're older, yeah, they could say shit like that and get in trouble very easily. Which is why I was like, all right, we should not delete that server because that's evidence like we can use against what this guy's saying because he's twisting it around. So it's just fucking hell, dude. The only way around that was just leaving. But let me tell you, the people that have done these things have actually turned out to be actually pretty good people over time. They've grown up. That's the scary thing about. That's the scary thing about, dude. That's the scary thing about teenagers, man. It's like you're growing adults, and it's like you can really start to see the animalistic part of human beings when they're maturing over time. Because it's like you have the energy and the mind of a child, but you have the body and the instincts of an adult. It's fucking scary. If you ever see, I don't know, they do this in movies sometimes, some adults saying kids fucking scare me, like teenagers fucking scare me. Like I think I'm starting to get it. But yeah, yeah, so the only way out was just to leave. And they weren't the right server, they weren't the right target audience for Door anyway. Door is supposed to be for Denmark right now. So I want to start my own sort of Danish server that no one can find. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, dude, just it's the whole canceling for Door thing. That's all it was.
Do you? I just you said Doors could be in Denmark. Do you think it's gonna release in the U.S. anytime soon, or?
It released in Denmark June 22. It's already in Denmark. So if you come to Denmark, you can download Door and you can meet people for drinks, kind of. It doesn't work perfectly right now, but yeah, we want to pivot. We want to make it even more gamified, more special. It is coming to the US. I'm not sure exactly when. We know that we want to go to Norway and Sweden by 2022. That's certain. We know that we also want to get to Germany late 2022 or early 2023. Look, our aim is to reach 100 million in revenue, not profit. So like that's pre-tax, pre-expenses, right? So just to generate 100 million revenue, and for us to pull that off, requires 50% scaling every month of our user base. So we're pricing our product at $10 a month, right? And to reach 100 million or around 100 million requires 10 million users. Sorry, let me rephrase that. 14 million. Apple takes 30%. Excuse me. So the question here is, all right, we need to get to bigger markets over time. So does that involve the US? That's a 3-year plan, by the way. So does that involve the US? Does that not involve the US? I'm not sure. And the reason why I'm reluctant on getting to the US so soon is because if we do, dude, that's when US is like 24% of the global GDP. That's when shit really gets started. That's when things, you have to really, really compete and really start running. And I've come to Denmark because it's a nest, dude. Like no one comes here. So I get to validate, I get to test the service, make something that is objectively good, built in a place that is so human, so has like these proper, respectful, and just great values. Come up with a design, then globalize with it. So I can't tell you if it's going to come to the US by 2023 or 2024, but you can bet your ass by 2024 to 2025, around that time, I definitely will be coming to the US, if it doesn't happen earlier.
Sounds good, because I don't think I'm going to Denmark anytime soon, so.
Yeah, if you're ever visiting Europe, dude, Dora will be around here. But yeah, so I guess when you're 18 now, 19.
19.
So when you're 21 to 22, you should be able to use Dora, assuming we succeed, because there's a very high chance that we're actually not going to succeed. So, success means that we're competing with Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Any updates on any other games or future business endeavors?
I could talk about a lot. I guess I could use this opportunity to kind of just tell you every single. No, that's great. Okay, well, I could talk about every project that I would like to make. That's better. So we want to make this Back of Space, and we're making it in terms of video games. The next game that we want to make is The Bold Man. Bold, sorry, B-O-L-D. I'm pronouncing that. And that basically is like a pre-OldTV, takes place in 1922. And you're basically dyslexic, and you're a little psychotic as well, but it's like you're an intern and you're like around 21 or 22 and you want to work for like this like Daily Bugle sort of, but it's like a small business called The Bold Man. And it's always this fucking business fat guy with like a cigar behind like this small office, and you have to sit in a desk in front of him. So there's a weird horror-ish aspect to it, but it's never really that. So it's channeling a little bit of only if in that way. But basically it's like you sit down and you're given, a radio tells you the words that you have to write into an article to publish it. And what is happening is that you can't tell if the person has, like they say read, and you don't know if that's R-E-A-D or R-E-E-D, and you have to make that differentiation. So this is our reinvention of the Stroop test.
Interesting.
So yeah, and you can upgrade using ink, and you'll find there's a fucking creep that lives in the closet, some golem or something, and basically you sell him keys, like keyboard key type keys. It's a weird fucking thing. But yeah, it's and it has like classical music. So it's like I was thinking of using like from OldTV the but like when you start the thing, and it's interesting. That may or may not happen, but that's one way that we can still bank and grow the whole TV franchise. All of this to fund Door. Another one would be like, I think I briefly spoke about reverse aging.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so there's a whole reverse aging industry where it's like, have you done these biological tests, age tests, whatever the fuck? So basically you do them and you can find out what's your biological age as opposed to like your chronological age, meaning how long you've been existing versus how physically old are you. And the thing about your biological age is that it's malleable. You can accelerate it to one direction, or you can reverse it depending on what you do. And this is why I was talking about like eating healthy, sleeping early, exercising, and having a positive psychology. So you can shift this 5 or 10 years plus, and in some cases 15 to 20 if you're pretty old, like in your 40s and 50s. My brother-in-law is 39, but he's been exercising like crazy every single day, and he's 24 biologically. Let me explain to you what that means. That means when he's 90, he has the body of a 74-year-old. That means when he's not 99, sorry. No. Sorry, when he's 89, he has the body of a 74-year-old. When he's 109, he has the body of a 94-year-old. So we can do that just with food, like just with dieting, just with exercise and sleep. But if you look up David Sinclair or anyone within the like functional medicine or reverse aging industry, you're going to find that there's a virus that's trying to be developed so that it can trigger. So the interesting thing is that it turns out that our cells have a reset like the original blueprints. And what aging is, by the way, the World Health Organization has defined aging as a 2019 as officially a disease. So it's not something that you just ignore and live on drinking Red Bull and chewing whatever the fuck. Like it is a disease. It is something to be solved. So David Sinclair and many of the other folks from the reverse aging industry have been trying to, find a solution beyond just dieting and just sipping on resveratrol or having NAD boosters or things like that. That's developing the virus. It turns out that your cells cannot. How aging is defined is when a cell mutates beyond its original blueprint. This is why you form, like, let's say, beauty marks over here, or when pimples grow out of the blue, or when, let's say, when you scar over here or something. Why does that texture change? It moves differently. It looks differently. It's objectively different. It's not the same anymore. And if you scar around your heart, which can happen through inflammation, that's how you can build up plaque, and that's how you basically die. Like when people say, "Oh, they died of old age," the top two causes of death is first and foremost heart disease. Secondly, it's cancer. So I'm such a big advocate of these things, and I don't just want to talk about it. No one fucking reads books. No one listens. It's like I need to engineer this shit. Yeah, that's what I want to do with Door. So so until the virus comes in, where it can tap into, you'll be prescribed this, is what the author was saying, the doctor, Sinclair, that when you either ingest or take an injection of this virus, what it would do is just tap into your cells and reset them back to their origin point, which can reverse you 10 or so years. So he doesn't know if he can do this once, he doesn't know if he can do this twice or three times, or, and I quote, 3,000 times. And if you can do this 3,000 times, then we ought to start asking questions about, like, what is the economic effects of this? And, well, what is the worth of life right now if it's not just about dying? I want to contribute to this emerging industry through Door by making it socially more digestible, so it doesn't sound completely quack. Yeah. Then there's that other thing that I told you I can go on about. So we're not going to fit it in this interview over here. But that's the plan right now.
And then any updates on life things? Like, I don't know. Just on life.
Jag kan förstå danskligt. Men danska är lågt, men jag kan snacka det. I can understand and speak a little bit Danish.
Nice.
Just as a side thing.
I was like, oh my god, what is he saying?
Yeah, no, it's like I've been speaking for so long that something is like, whoa, dude, like what the fuck? Is that even English anymore? Well, it's inevitable to talk about this at this point. So I want to build a startup society. So Door is sort of like a decentralized government, sort of like public services. We want to provide health services. We want to provide financial services. We want to make banking really easy and accessible by partnering or finding our own solutions. And we want to make, professional and social opportunities accessible. Literally, like opportunity at the press of a button, and to gamify that. So, if you guys are worried about a photo sharing app threatening democracy, imagine if you have an individual that can, or a group of people that can determine who, when, and what you're doing. Like a population of people. Like if you guys are scared about Facebook, that's why I don't trust anybody. That's why I'm so iffy about going to the US so soon. Because if people just steal this idea, things can really go to hell. And I don't trust the US. I don't trust anyone actually. I don't even trust my co-founder. He's been doing. I love him, but you guys are so excited about Back in Space. He doesn't give a fuck, and he said this to me. He wanted to take 50% share because he would provide a limited amount of hours of work, and I'm working fucking tens to 100 hours a week sorry, way more. Um, and I'm like, dude, you can't take 50% share. I don't give a shit about this product, because he's saying, all right, look, dude, just do 1, 2, 3 features and then just launch. I'm like, dude, that's not how that works. So yeah, I just simply don't trust anyone when it comes to doing something that's ethical, when it comes to doing something that's objectively beneficial for humanity and scaling. Like I'm done with identity politics. Like I don't want to hear race being brought up. I don't want to hear sex or gender being brought up anymore. Like, to me, these stuff don't exist anymore. Because if you keep fighting like with this stuff, you're never gonna win. You're never gonna win the race game. It's gonna go to red people or yellow people, or it's just gonna keep fucking going. You're never gonna win the sex game, the gender game, whatever that is. You're never gonna win this stuff, and it's not a coincidence that all of this has happened, has come out of school, actually, the universities. So I'm happy to hear that you quit university, because it's complete bullshit in my opinion. It's a way for you to get in depth and not to gain the skill that you require. I mean, you know my story, dude. Yeah, so okay, well, if there's an app or a service where you just press one button and develop a skill immediately with people around you, so then what's the purpose of school? It's a business. It's a shitty business. It's like that horrible internet supplier that doesn't do any good. But yeah, so that's with Door, and then there's the centralized version of that, which is called Pendulum, which is a startup society. It's going to start here around the Nordics. So that comes from like the employees that we hire from our businesses. Then we do like to subscribe to like some of our financial aid that we can provide people, easier financial services, let's say, housing, that's much more cheaper, 3D printed. Or just programs that are better for your health as well. And then when we generate some interest here in the Nordics and Scandinavia, then we go to the North Atlantic and we stick a spire into Rockall Bank, which is which is outside the exclusive economic zone of Ireland. So this is international waters. It's like going to Mars. It doesn't belong to anyone. And you declare independence. There's nothing stopping you from being a nation or a small society. What doesn't happen is that the UN recognizes you. That's a different thing, because then that's about trade. And I don't give a shit about that. Not yet, at least. So the purpose of Pendulum is so we can allow more people to make more societies. Because if we're sitting around going like Bernie, Trump, whatever the hell, nothing is going to happen. Like I thoroughly believe we are defined by what we do. And I'm starting by making an app that is about doing more. So we put the words do more together, and now it's called Door, D-O-R-E.
Sounds very interesting. I feel like that's almost going to be like the next thing. Like, it might sound stupid, but like, we had like the NFTs now, and you're getting like a lot of crypto scams now, and then like maybe even down the line, this could be like the next big thing, I could see it, could be pretty crazy, could be pretty cool. Just see how it works out. So I have 2 more questions, and the next one is I'm actually gonna steal a question from another YouTuber I watch.
If you could tell everyone in the world one thing, what would it be?
It's, if there was one thing you could tell the world, what would it be?
And they would listen?
Yeah.
Would they do something about that?
Oh, I don't know. It's just tell the world something.
I wouldn't say anything.
You wouldn't say anything?
No, language is the simulation of the real world. If you want to make something happen, you engineer it. Language doesn't do anything. You go to work.
Interesting. And then
if you can't guarantee me they're gonna do it, I'm not gonna say anything. Doesn't mean shit. This is me stroking my fucking ego. Doesn't mean shit.
Because it's like the questions from this one YouTuber who does interviews, and he just asks this every time, and I was just wondering. That's a very interesting response.
Yeah, I guess it's a good question.
And then the last one is, what are you gonna do now, after this interview or something?
I'm gonna go to sleep. So I'm going to go back home, sleep as soon as possible to make sure that I'm sleeping with the circadian rhythm. I'm going to come back here at 6, or rather 7, 8 a.m. to continue working on Backspace so that we launch on the 16th, sorry, on the 23rd. Yeah. So a lot of work's being made, and I'm really excited for this stuff that we're going to reveal to you guys soon.
I was actually gonna ask you about that, what is happening on July 23rd, but you already told me. And I was thinking, like, in the video, I could probably, like, cut that out of the video so that, like, it creates that suspense. I actually had this whole bit plan where I was gonna talk about that at the end of the video.
Yeah, it's fun. We ended up talking about God and existential crisis.
Yeah.
So it's like we went all the way up and then we come back down. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, that's all my questions. That's about it.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming out and doing the interview. It was awesome.
Definitely. All right, cool. Thanks. We'll catch you around.
Yep. All right, man. See ya.
See ya.
And I also wanted to thank River for coming out and doing this interview. He's a really chill guy, and if you want to check out his stuff on his channel, I'll link it in the description. And that's about it. Also, if you want to check out my stuff, I'll link my main channel and my second channel in the description if you want to. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And thank you again, River, for doing the interview. See ya.